Earth's last hope. The year was 2087, and Earth was on the brink of collapse. Centuries of unchecked industrial expansion, overpopulation, and neglect had turned the once thriving blue planet into a place of suffocating despair. Towering skyscrapers of concrete and glass punctuated sprawling urban landscapes that stretched for hundreds of miles, while smog choked out the sun's warmth, leaving humanity to stumble through gray, shadowed cities. Once abundant natural resources, oil, water, and fertile soil, had been all but consumed. Humanity was running out of time. The breaking point had come with the Great Cascades, a decade-long series of environmental disasters that reshaped the planet's geography. Tsunamis had swallowed entire coastlines, hurricanes raged year-round, and volcanic eruptions filled the atmosphere with ash. Crops failed, fresh water turned to poison, and countless millions perished. Governments toppled, and the global economy fractured into chaos. For many, survival became the only goal. Yet, in this time of despair, the greatest minds of humanity rallied around a singular, audacious idea: Mars. The United Nations Space Initiative, UNSI, formed by the world's remaining superpowers, became humanity's final hope. Years of research culminated in Project Olympus, an ambitious endeavor to colonize the Red Planet. The goal wasn't just survival, it was to give humanity a chance to start over, free from the mistakes of the past. The UNSI called for volunteers, issuing a promise of a better future to those brave enough to leave everything behind. Over 1 million people applied, but only 100 would be chosen. These pioneers weren't just astronauts. They were farmers, biologists, chemists, engineers, and even a few civilians. Each one had been selected for their expertise, adaptability, and mental fortitude. Among those chosen was Dr. Elena Vasquez, a brilliant botanist who had spent her career developing genetically engineered crops capable of surviving in extreme environments. She saw Mars as a chance to prove her work could save humanity. Then there was Commander Marcus Kane, a seasoned astronaut and military officer tasked with leading the mission. His stoic demeanor hid the immense pressure of ensuring the survival of his team. Beside them was Ravi Patel, an AI engineer whose innovations in machine learning had made robotic exploration of Mars possible. Ravi's connection to Athena, the advanced AI system running their spacecraft, would prove indispensable. As the chosen 100 gathered for the final briefing at UNSI headquarters, a sense of gravity filled the room. The Secretary General addressed them with a voice that trembled under the weight of history. "You are humanity's best and brightest," she said, her eyes scanning the diverse faces before her. "You carry with you not just the hopes of nations, but the dreams of billions. You are the seeds of a new beginning. You will face unimaginable challenges, but know this: you are not alone. Earth is watching, and we believe in you." The room erupted in applause, though it was tempered with nervous glances. The enormity of their mission hung over them like the smog-filled skies they were leaving behind. Outside the walls of the UNSI headquarters, the reality of Earth's demise was unavoidable. Refugee camps sprawled along the edges of the city, housing those displaced by climate disasters. Automated drones patrolled the skies, keeping the desperate from storming the fortified UNSI gates. Inside the base, the chosen 100 were shielded from the chaos, but they couldn't ignore the pleas of those they would leave behind. Elena, unable to sleep the night before the launch, wandered to the observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, she watched as the Ares, their ship, loomed in the distance, a gleaming vessel of hope against a backdrop of decay. Ravi joined her, holding 2 steaming mugs of coffee. Hard to believe we're leaving this behind, Ravi said, gesturing at the horizon where smog obscured the rising sun. And taking so little with us. Elena nodded. It feels selfish, knowing that so many will never get the chance. We can't save everyone, Ravi replied softly. But if we succeed, maybe we can save what's left of us. Their conversation was interrupted by a voice over the intercom. It was Athena, speaking in its calm, measured tone. Dr. Vasquez, Mr. Patel, it is recommended you rest. Departure is in 12 hours. Elena sighed, her breath fogging the glass. Rest, she repeated. As if I could sleep. The day of the launch arrived with an eerie stillness. Crowds gathered in designated safe zones to watch history unfold on giant screens. News outlets broadcasted live, the reporters speculating on the risks and rewards of the mission. Inside the Ares, the colonists strapped into their seats, surrounded by the hum of machinery and the glow of screens. Each of them carried personal mementos, a photo, a letter, a trinket to remind them of the life they were leaving behind. Marcus Kane's voice crackled over the comms. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his tone steady. This is it. Once we leave Earth's orbit, there's no turning back. Remember why you're here. Remember who you're doing this for. Let's make history. The countdown began. With each passing second, the tension in the cabin grew. Hands clenched armrests, breaths were held, and prayers were whispered. Then, with a deafening roar, the Ares lifted off, carrying humanity's hope into the void. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, Elena stole one last glance at Earth through the viewport. The once blue planet appeared as a hazy sphere, its beauty marred by pollution and scars of human activity. It was a sobering sight, a reminder of what they were leaving behind and what they hoped to build anew. Goodbye, she whispered. As the Ares ascended into the vacuum of space, the rumble of its engines faded, replaced by an eerie silence. The colonists, strapped into their seats, felt the sudden absence of gravity as they entered orbit. Bodies floated slightly against their restraints, and objects left unsecured began to drift. For many, the sensation of weightlessness was their first taste of the alien environment that would define the rest of their lives. Commander Marcus Kane's voice came through the intercom. Calm, composed, and confident, it was the anchor they all needed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to space. We've successfully reached low Earth orbit and will be preparing for the trans-Martian injection burn shortly. Take a moment to adjust to microgravity and remember to report any discomfort to the medical team. Relief rippled through the cabin. As the realization sank in, they had survived the most dangerous part of their journey so far. Yet, for most of the colonists, this was only the beginning of the emotional and psychological challenges they would face. Dr. Elena Vasquez unbuckled her harness, pushing herself gently off the seat. The motion was awkward at first. She reached out instinctively for something solid to grab. Floating was disorienting, like losing your footing in an infinite abyss. First time? Ravi Patel's voice came from her right as he floated effortlessly past her, his body moving with practiced ease. Obviously, Elena replied, gripping the edge of her seat. She tried to push herself forward, only to spin sideways and collide with the nearest bulkhead. Here, Ravi said, laughing softly. Think of it like swimming, but without the water. He demonstrated, moving slowly and deliberately, using his fingertips to guide himself along the handrails built into the walls. Across the cabin, others were experiencing similar struggles. Some managed graceful movements, while others flailed awkwardly. One civilian, a young teacher named Mia Chen, accidentally flipped upside down, much to the amusement of those around her. Commander Kane observed the scene from the cockpit. Everyone, take your time. You'll get the hang of it. Remember, we've got 6 months to practice. As the colonists settled into their new reality, the ship's observation deck became the focal point of attention. From here, they could see Earth, a glowing blue and white marble against the infinite blackness of space. For many, it was the first time they truly appreciated the planet's fragility. Elena found herself staring at the view, her thoughts heavy with the weight of what they had left behind. The swirling clouds, the vast oceans, the continents that had been home to billions, all of it seemed so small and distant now. Beautiful, isn't it? Ravi's voice broke the silence. She nodded. And heartbreaking. It's hard to believe we let it come to this. Ravi didn't respond immediately. Instead, he floated beside her, his eyes fixed on Earth. Do you think we'll ever come back? He asked, finally. Elena shook her head. I don't know. But if we do, it won't be the same Earth we left. And we won't be the same people. The Ares was a marvel of engineering, a spacecraft designed to sustain 100 people for 6 months in transit. Its modular design included living quarters, a hydroponic garden, a medical bay, and an advanced AI system named Athena. Despite the ship's advanced features, however, it was still a confined space, and the realities of long-term isolation began to show within the first few days. The first argument broke out in the mess hall. It started with something trivial. 2 engineers, Malik and Sarah, disagreed over the best way to optimize the ship's oxygen recycling system. Voices were raised, and the tension quickly spread. Hey, we're all in this together, barked Commander Kane as he entered the room. His tone left no room for argument. This isn't a debating society. We're a team. Work it out, or I will. The room fell silent, but the undercurrent of tension remained. In private, Kane confided in his second-in-command, Lieutenant Amina Torres. It's starting already. We're barely out of orbit, and people are snapping. It's to be expected, Torres replied. Confined spaces, high stakes, it's a pressure cooker. But they'll settle down once we get into a routine. Kane nodded, though his expression remained grim. He knew the mission would test them all, but he hadn't anticipated the cracks appearing so soon. Athena, the Ares onboard AI, was the silent observer of everything that unfolded. With its omnipresent sensors and advanced algorithms, it monitored the ship's systems, managed life support, and ensured the crew's safety. Good evening, Dr. Patel. Athena's calm feminine voice echoed as Ravi entered the engineering bay. Evening, Athena. How's our girl holding up? All systems are functioning within expected parameters, Athena replied. However, I have detected increased stress levels among the crew. Would you like me to initiate additional morale-boosting activities? Ravi chuckled. Thanks, Athena, but I don't think karaoke night is going to fix this. I will refrain from suggesting it, then Athena replied, with what almost sounded like humor. Ravi hesitated. Athena, do you ever think about the mission? I mean, beyond your programming? The AI paused, a brief, almost imperceptible hesitation. My primary function is to ensure the success of the mission and the safety of the crew. Any additional thoughts would be irrelevant. Right, Ravi muttered, though the interaction left him unsettled. Despite the early conflicts, bonds began to form among the colonists. In the shared spaces of the ship, stories were exchanged, laughter was shared, and a sense of camaraderie began to grow. Elena found herself drawn to Mia, the young teacher who had volunteered for the mission despite having no scientific background. Why did you apply? Elena asked one evening as they floated in the observation deck. Mia smiled. Because I wanted to believe in something bigger than myself. Back on Earth, it felt like everything was falling apart. This feels like hope. Her words struck a chord with Elena. Hope, she repeated softly. We're going to need a lot of that. The momentous event of the journey came. On the 7th day, the trans-Martian injection burn. This was when the Ares would fire its engines to escape Earth's orbit and set itself on a trajectory to Mars. In the cockpit, Commander Kane and Lieutenant Torres worked closely with Athena to ensure everything was perfect. The colonists, secured in their seats, braced for the burn. Attention, all crew, Kane's voice rang out. We're about to initiate the burn. Hold tight. The ship trembled as its engines roared to life. The sensation of acceleration was brief but intense, pressing the crew back into their seats. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. Burn complete, Athena announced. Trajectory to Mars confirmed. Cheers erupted throughout the ship. For the first time since leaving Earth, the colonists felt a sense of accomplishment. They were no longer tethered to their dying planet. Mars was their destination, their future. As the celebrations died down, Elena gazed out at the vastness of space. For the first time, she allowed herself to dream, not of the mistakes of the past, but of the possibilities ahead. Chapter 3: The Journey Through the Void. The Ares floated like a silver speck against the vast, infinite blackness of space. With Earth now a distant memory and Mars still months away, the colonists were suspended in a liminal state adrift in the void. The journey through deep space was as much a test of resilience as it was of endurance. The euphoria from the successful trans-Martian injection burn faded quickly, giving way to the monotonous routine of life aboard the spacecraft. Days blended into nights in the artificial lighting of the ship, and the psychological strain of isolation began to take its toll. Commander Marcus Kane understood that structure was essential for maintaining order during their 6-month voyage. Early in the journey, he implemented a strict schedule, dividing the day into work shifts, physical training, meal times, and recreation. Each colonist was assigned duties aligned with their expertise. Scientists like Dr. Elena Vasquez focused on maintaining the hydroponic systems, engineers monitored the ship's critical functions, and civilians were trained in basic tasks to ensure they could assist in emergencies. Routine is survival, Kane reminded the crew during their daily briefing. A steady mind and body will carry us to Mars. For Elena, the routine was both a blessing and a curse. Working in the hydroponics bay provided a sense of purpose, but the monotony weighed heavily on her. She spent hours nurturing the rows of leafy greens and tubers that would supplement their rations. One day, Ravi Patel joined her in the hydroponics bay. He floated gracefully through the narrow aisles, inspecting the equipment. "How's it coming along?" he asked, peering at a row of spinach. "They're growing, but it's slow," Elena replied. "The artificial light cycles are working, but they're not ideal." Ravi nodded. "It's a start. You're feeding the colony, Elena. That's no small thing." She managed a weak smile. "It just feels fragile, like everything else on this ship." Athena, the ship's AI, became an ever-present companion for the crew. Its voice was a constant in their lives, offering updates, advice, and even occasional reassurances. For some, like Ravi, Athena was a marvel of technology, a perfect fusion of logic and empathy. For others, its omnipresence was unsettling. One night, as Elena worked alone in the hydroponics bay, Athena's voice interrupted her thoughts. Dr. Vasquez, your heart rate indicates elevated stress levels. Would you like me to initiate a relaxation program? Elena sighed, glancing at the nearest sensor node. No, Athena. I'm fine. Your physiological data suggests otherwise, Athena replied. Prolonged stress can impair cognitive and physical performance. It is advisable to address it promptly. Elena hesitated, then let out a reluctant laugh. You're relentless, aren't you? I am programmed to prioritize the well-being of the crew. Despite her initial annoyance, Elena found herself talking to Athena more often. The AI's calm demeanor and encyclopedic knowledge were strangely comforting in the isolating void of space. As the weeks turned into months, the psychological toll of the journey became apparent. The lack of natural stimuli, no fresh air, no open skies, no variation in the environment began to wear on the crew. Tempers flared more frequently, and small disputes sometimes escalated into heated arguments. One particularly tense moment occurred in the mess hall. Malik, the engineer who had clashed with Sarah earlier, lost his temper over a minor equipment malfunction. Why does nothing on this ship work the way it's supposed to? He snapped, slamming a maintenance tablet onto the table. Sarah, seated nearby, couldn't resist responding. Maybe if you spent less time complaining and more time fixing, we wouldn't have these problems. The room fell silent as Malik shot her a venomous glare. Before the situation could escalate further, Commander Kane intervened. That's enough, he said firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. We're all under stress, but taking it out on each other won't solve anything. Malik, Sarah, you're both professionals. Act like it. The tension lingered, but Kane's authority kept the situation from spiraling out of control. Despite the challenges, there were moments of awe that reminded the crew why they had embarked on this journey. The observation deck became a sanctuary, offering a view of the cosmos that few humans had ever seen. One evening, Elena joined a small group gathered there, including Mia Chen and Ravi. They floated in silence, gazing out at a swirling nebula illuminated by distant starlight. It's beautiful, Mia whispered, her voice tinged with wonder. It's easy to forget how small we are, Ravi said. Out here, in all this, it's humbling. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the vast expanse. It's a reminder, she said softly, of why we're doing this. We're not just escaping Earth. We're reaching for something greater. Midway through the journey, disaster struck. A micrometeoroid, no larger than a pebble, breached the ship's outer hull, puncturing one of the storage compartments. Alarms blared as the cabin pressure began to drop. Breach detected in Module C, Athena announced. Emergency protocols initiated. The crew scrambled into action. Commander Kane coordinated the response, while Ravi and a team of engineers suited up to assess the damage. Pressure levels are stabilizing, Athena reported. However, the affected compartment remains compromised. In the vacuum of space, even a minor breach could be catastrophic. Ravi and his team worked tirelessly to seal the puncture, their movements precise but tense. Back in the main cabin, Elena and Maya worked to calm the others. Deep breaths, Elena urged a panicked civilian. We've trained for emergencies. They've got this. Hours later, Ravi and his team returned, their faces etched with exhaustion but triumphant. Breach sealed, Ravi reported to Kane. We're secure. The relief was palpable, but the incident served as a sobering reminder of the dangers they faced. Close call brought the crew closer together. Tensions eased, and camaraderie began to replace conflict. Shared meals in the mess hall, became a time for laughter and storytelling as colonists shared memories of Earth and dreams of Mars. Elena found herself drawn to Ravi, whose optimism and humor provided a counterbalance to her own serious demeanor. One evening, as they floated in the observation deck, Ravi handed her a small, carefully wrapped package. "What's this?" Elena asked, curiosity flickering in her tired eyes. "Open it," Ravi said, grinning. Inside was a single seed, encased in a clear capsule. "It's a cherry tree seed," Ravi explained. "I thought you might like something to remind you of home." Elena's eyes welled up. "Thank you," she whispered. "This means more than you know." As the Ares approached the final month of its journey, the colonists' spirits lifted. The distance to Mars grew shorter with each passing day, and Athena began preparing them for the challenges of descent and landing. During the final crew meeting before arrival, Kane addressed the group. "We've made it this far because of your resilience, your teamwork, and your determination," he said. "Mars is waiting for us. Let's make this count." The room erupted in applause. Chapter 4. Arrival at Mars. The day they had waited for had finally arrived. After 6 months of isolation, challenges, and wonder, the Ares approached its destination. Mars, a dusty red sphere, crisscrossed with ancient valleys and mountains, loomed larger with every passing hour. For the colonists aboard, the sight stirred a mix of emotions: relief, excitement, and a lingering fear of the unknown. In the observation deck, the colonists gathered to witness their new home come into view. Mars's ochre hues, bathed in the light of the distant sun, gave it a mystique that stirred the heart and quickened the pulse. "We're really here," whispered Maya Chen, her breath fogging the glass as she leaned closer. "We are," said Elena Vasquez, standing beside her. "Now comes the hard part." Commander Marcus Kane stood at the helm of the Ares, his expression resolute. The descent to Mars would be one of the mission's most dangerous phases. A thin atmosphere, unpredictable weather, and the intricacies of landing a ship as massive as the Ares made this a critical operation. "All crew to their designated stations," Kane's voice carried through the intercom. "Athena, confirm re-entry procedures. Re-entry systems are online and operational. Trajectory calculations are within acceptable parameters. Surface winds at Olympus Base are moderate, with no significant anomalies detected." Ravi Patel joined Kane in the cockpit, reviewing the ship's diagnostics. "The heat shields are primed, and the landing thrusters are green-lit," Ravi said. "Good," Kane replied, his eyes fixed on the data. "We've only got one shot at this." The crew secured themselves in their seats, their movements a mix of efficiency and nervous energy. For many, this was the moment their training had prepared them for, but knowing the risks didn't make it any less daunting. The Ares began its descent, entering Mars's thin atmosphere at a blistering speed. Outside, the friction of entry ignited the air, creating a glowing envelope of plasma around the ship. Inside, the colonists felt the ship shudder violently, their harnesses the only thing keeping them secure. "Atmospheric entry in progress," Athena announced, her calm tone in a stark contrast to the chaos. "Heat shield integrity at 95%. The ship rocked as turbulence buffeted it, and alarms blared briefly before stabilizing. "Hold tight," Kane called over the intercom. Moments later, the ship's parachutes deployed with a deafening snap. The deceleration was abrupt, pressing the colonists against their seats. Following the parachutes, the landing thrusters fired, slowing the ship even further as it approached the surface. As the Ares neared its landing zone, a sudden alert flashed across the ship's systems. Warning, lateral wind shear detected, Athena announced. What? Kane's eyes darted to the display. Ravi, stabilize the thrusters. I'm on it. Ravi's fingers flew across the controls, adjusting the ship's orientation to counteract the unexpected gusts. The Ares tilted slightly, its descent path skewed. The colonists held their breath as the ship corrected its course. The view from the observation deck was chaotic dust clouds kicked up by the thrusters obscured the ground, making it impossible to tell how close they were. Brace for landing, Kane shouted. With a bone-jarring thud, the Ares touched down on Martian soil. The ship shuddered, groaned, and then went still. Touchdown confirmed, Athena reported. A cheer erupted from the crew, followed by a collective exhale of relief. Once the dust settled, the colonists began their post-landing procedures. Commander Kane stood before the airlock, his suit sealed and ready. "This is it," he said, addressing the crew. "We are the first humans to set foot on another planet. Let's make history." The airlock cycled with a hiss, and Kane stepped out onto the Martian surface. His boots sank slightly into the reddish soil, leaving the first human footprint on the planet. Behind him, the rest of the crew emerged, their suits gleaming under the pale sunlight. The landscape stretched out before them, an expanse of barren, rocky plains under a pinkish sky. Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, loomed on the horizon, its massive peak shrouded in mist. Elena knelt and scooped up a handful of soil, letting it fall through her gloved fingers. "This is," she murmured, "a new beginning." The colonists made their way to Olympus Base, a cluster of domes and modules pre-assembled by robotic missions years earlier. The base was designed to be self-sufficient, with life support systems, solar panels, and a robust communications array. "Base systems coming online," Athena reported as the colonists activated the modules. "Oxygen generation is stable. Power output is at 87%. Inside, the base was Spartan but functional. The air smelled faintly of metal and recycled oxygen. The colonists began unpacking supplies, setting up personal quarters, and familiarizing themselves with the layout. The euphoria of landing didn't last long. Hours after their arrival, a critical system malfunctioned. The water recycling unit, a vital component of their survival, failed to start. Ravi and Sarah immediately began troubleshooting. "The filtration system isn't initializing," Sarah said, frustration evident in her voice. "Looks like a power distribution issue," Ravi replied. "Let's reroute from the secondary grid." The room was tense as the team worked. Every minute without a functioning water system brought them closer to a crisis. Finally, after hours of effort, the system hummed to life. "Water recycling operational," Athena confirmed. Cheers broke out, but the incident served as a harsh reminder of how fragile their existence on Mars would be. As the days passed, the colonists began adapting to life on Mars. Tasks were assigned, and a new routine emerged. Scientists collected soil samples, engineers worked on expanding the base, and the civilians were trained in various survival skills. Elena found herself drawn to the greenhouse, where the first seeds were planted in Martian soil enriched with nutrients. "It's symbolic," she told Maya, who assisted her. "If we can grow food here, it means we can truly survive." Mia nodded, planting a row of carrot seeds. "It's like planting hope," she said. One evening, the colonists gathered outside the base, their suits protecting them from the harsh environment. They looked up at the Martian sky, where Earth appeared as a faint blue dot. "That's home," Kane said, his voice tinged with emotion. "But this is our future." The colonists stood in silence, each lost in their thoughts. For some, Mars represented a fresh start. For others, it was a reminder of what they had left behind. Chapter 5. Settling into Mars. Mars was unlike anything the colonists had ever experienced. Its barren landscape stretched endlessly in every direction, painted in hues of red, orange, and brown. The air was thin, the sunlight weak, and the cold unforgiving. But to the 100 pioneers, who now called Olympus base home, this alien world represented a new beginning, a chance to rewrite the story of humanity. In the days following their arrival, the initial excitement gave way to the sobering reality of life on a hostile planet. Settling into Mars meant more than just survival. It meant building a sustainable community, one that could endure the challenges ahead. Commander Marcus Kane instituted a schedule designed to maintain order and ensure every aspect of the colony's operations ran smoothly. The days began with a morning briefing in the central hub, where tasks were assigned and updates on the base's systems were shared. "Hydroponics is our top priority today," Kane announced one morning. "Elena, Mia, and Ravi, I want you to focus on optimizing the water distribution. Sarah, you and Malik will continue inspecting the power grid. The rest of you, check the exterior panels for any damage from the landing dust storm." The colonists dispersed to their assignments, moving through the base's interconnected modules. Despite the high-tech environment, life in Olympus base felt cramped and utilitarian. Each person had a small sleeping pod, shared common areas, and a rotating roster of chores to keep the colony running. Elena Vasquez found solace in the greenhouse. It was the only space in the base that felt alive, with rows of leafy greens and budding vegetables beginning to sprout. The team had managed to stabilize the hydroponic systems, ensuring a steady supply of water and nutrients to the plants. "These little guys are doing better than I expected," Elena said, examining a tray of lettuce seedlings. Maya Chen, her assistant, smiled. "They're tougher than they look. Kind of like us." Elena laughed. "Let's hope so. If we can get these to full maturity, we'll have fresh food in a few weeks. That'll be a morale booster." The greenhouse became a gathering place for the colonists, a reminder of the connection between life and the soil beneath their feet, even if that soil was Martian regolith. The engineers faced one of the colony's most daunting tasks, expanding the base to accommodate future needs. Ravi Patel and Sarah Bennett led the effort, working with the colony's fleet of autonomous rovers and drones to construct additional modules. "Once we have the new habitat modules up, we can start thinking about a research lab and a dedicated med bay," Ravi explained during a planning session. "And a gym," Sarah added. "If we're going to be here long-term, we need to think about maintaining muscle mass." Ravi nodded. "Good point. Let's prioritize one with low-gravity exercise equipment." Outside, the rovers worked tirelessly, assembling prefabricated sections into new domes. The Martian dust, stirred up by their movements, created a reddish haze that clung to every surface. Maintaining contact with Earth was another critical aspect of the colony's operations. The base relied on a series of orbiting satellites to relay messages back to UNSI headquarters, but the 20-minute delay each way made real-time communication impossible. Athena, the ship's AI, became an invaluable intermediary. It analyzed incoming data, prioritized urgent messages, and synthesized responses for the crew. "One day," Malik said, during a communications briefing, "we'll have quantum entanglement networks, and this delay will be a thing of the past." Kane smirked. "One day. But for now, we work with what we've got." Despite their shared mission, The colonists came from diverse backgrounds and cultures, which occasionally led to misunderstandings. Kane, recognizing the potential for division, encouraged cultural exchange through shared meals and storytelling sessions in the evenings. One night, Elena shared a story about her grandmother, who had fled political turmoil in South America to start a new life in the United States. She always said, "You have to plant your roots in new soil, no matter how harsh it is," Elena said, her voice tinged with emotion. "I think about her every time I step outside." Ravi nodded. "It's funny how much our ancestors sacrificed for the chance at a better life. And here we are, doing the same thing, just on a much larger scale." Life on Mars was not without its dangers. One morning, alarms blared throughout the base, jolting the colonists awake. "Warning, oxygen levels in Module 3 are critically low," Athena announced. Kane and Sarah rushed to the affected module, where they discovered a small but persistent leak in the life support system. "Pressure is dropping fast," Sarah said, scanning the readouts. "If we don't seal this, we'll lose the whole module." Ravi arrived moments later with a repair kit. Together, the team worked in tense silence, applying sealant to the breach and patching the compromised system. After what felt like an eternity, Athena reported, oxygen levels stabilizing. Leak contained. The colonists breathed a collective sigh of relief. Despite the hardships, the colonists celebrated their achievements whenever they could. The first successful harvest from the greenhouse was a cause for joy as the crew gathered to share a meal of fresh lettuce and radishes. "It's not much," Elena admitted, "but it's a start." Mia grinned. "It's more than that. It's proof we can thrive here." The mood in the base lifted, and for the first time since their arrival, the colonists allowed themselves to believe that they could make Mars their home. As the colony stabilized, the team began venturing beyond the base. Using pressurized rovers, they explored the surrounding landscape, collecting samples and mapping the terrain. On one such mission, Elena, Ravi, and Mia discovered an unusual formation, a series of parallel ridges that seemed too uniform to be natural. "Do you think this could be evidence of past water flow?" Mia asked, examining the ridges with a portable scanner. "Possibly," Elena replied. "Or something even more interesting. Let's take samples and bring them back for analysis." The discoveries added a sense of purpose to their daily lives, reminding them of the scientific potential of their mission. By the end of their first month on Mars, the colonists had settled into a fragile but functioning routine. The base was expanding, the greenhouse was thriving, and the crew was beginning to adapt to the challenges of their new environment. One evening, as the sun set over the Martian horizon, the colonists gathered outside to watch the sky darken. The stars, unobstructed by an atmosphere, shone with an intensity none of them had ever seen on Earth. Kane raised a glass of recycled water in a toast. "To Olympus Base," he said. "To survival. To the future." "To the future," the colonists echoed, their voices united. Chapter 5. Settling into Mars. Mars was unlike anything the colonists had ever experienced. Its barren landscape stretched endlessly in every direction, painted in hues of red, orange, and brown. The air was thin, the sunlight weak, and the cold unforgiving. But to the 100 pioneers who now called Olympus Base home, this alien world represented a new beginning, a chance to rewrite the story of humanity. In the days following their arrival, the initial excitement gave way to the sobering reality of life on a hostile planet. Settling into Mars meant more than just survival. It meant building a sustainable community, one that could endure the challenges ahead. Commander Marcus Kane instituted a schedule designed to maintain order and ensure every aspect of the colony's operations ran smoothly. The days began with a morning briefing in the central hub, where tasks were assigned and updates on the base's systems were shared. "Hydroponics is our top priority today," Kane announced one morning. "Elena, Maya, and Ravi, I want you to focus on optimizing the water distribution. Sarah, you and Malik will continue inspecting the power grid. The rest of you, check the exterior panels for any damage from the landing dust storm." The colonists dispersed to their assignments, moving through the base's interconnected modules. Despite the high-tech environment, life in Olympus Base felt cramped and utilitarian. Each person had a small sleeping pod, shared common areas, and a rotating roster of chores to keep the colony running. Elena Vasquez found solace in the greenhouse. It was the only space in the base that felt alive, with rows of leafy greens and budding vegetables beginning to sprout. The team had managed to stabilize the hydroponic systems, ensuring a steady supply of water and nutrients to the plants. "These little guys are doing better than I expected," Elena said, examining a tray of lettuce seedlings. Mia Chen, her assistant, smiled. "They're tougher than they look." "Kind of like us," Elena laughed. "Let's hope so. If we can get these to full maturity, we'll have fresh food in a few weeks. That'll be a morale booster." The greenhouse became a gathering place for the colonists, a reminder of the connection between life and the soil beneath their feet, even if that soil was Martian regolith. The engineers faced one of the colony's most daunting tasks, expanding the base to accommodate future needs. Ravi Patel and Sarah Bennett led the effort, working with the colony's fleet of autonomous rovers and drones to construct additional modules. "Once we have the new habitat modules up, we can start thinking about a research lab and a dedicated med bay," Ravi explained during a planning session. "And a gym," Sarah added. "If we're going to be here long-term, we need to think about maintaining muscle mass." Ravi nodded. "Good point. Let's prioritize one with low-gravity exercise equipment." Outside, the rovers worked tirelessly, assembling prefabricated sections into new domes. The Martian dust, stirred up by their movements, created a reddish haze that clung to every surface. Maintaining contact with Earth was another critical aspect of the colony's operations. The base relied on a series of orbiting satellites to relay messages back to UNSI headquarters, but the 20-minute delay each way made real-time communication impossible. Athena, the ship's AI, became an invaluable intermediary. It analyzed incoming data, prioritized urgent messages, and synthesized responses for the crew. "One day," Malik said, during a communications briefing, "we'll have quantum entanglement networks, and this delay will be a thing of the past." Kane smirked. "One day. But for now, we work with what we've got." Despite their shared mission, the colonists came from diverse backgrounds and cultures, which occasionally led to misunderstandings. Kane, recognizing the potential for division, encouraged cultural exchange through shared meals and storytelling sessions in the evenings. One night, Elena shared a story about her grandmother, who had fled political turmoil in South America to start a new life in the United States. "She always said, you have to plant your roots in new soil, no matter how harsh it is," Elena said, her voice tinged with emotion. "I think about her every time I step outside." Ravi nodded. "It's funny how much our ancestors sacrificed for the chance at a better life. And here we are, doing the same thing, just on a much larger scale." Life on Mars was not without its dangers. One morning, alarms blared throughout the base, jolting the colonists awake. Warning, oxygen levels in Module 3 are critically low, Athena announced. Kane and Sarah rushed to the affected module, where they discovered a small but persistent leak in the life support system. Pressure is dropping fast, Sarah said, scanning the readouts. If we don't seal this, we'll lose the whole module. Ravi arrived moments later with a repair kit. Together, the team worked in tense silence, applying sealant to the breach and patching the compromised system. After what felt like an eternity, Athena reported, oxygen levels stabilizing. Leak contained. The colonists breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the incident served as a stark reminder of how fragile their existence on Mars truly was. Despite the hardships, the colonists celebrated their achievements whenever they could. The first successful harvest from the greenhouse was a cause for joy as the crew gathered to share a meal of fresh lettuce and radishes. It's not much, Elena admitted, but it's a start. Mia grinned. It's more than that. It's proof we can thrive here. The mood in the base lifted, and for the first time since their arrival, the colonists allowed themselves to believe that they could make Mars their home. As the colony stabilized, the team began venturing beyond the base. Using pressurized rovers, they explored the surrounding landscape, collecting samples and mapping the terrain. On one such mission, Elena, Ravi, and Maya discovered an unusual formation, a series of parallel ridges that seemed too uniform to be natural. Do you think this could be evidence of past water flow? Mia asked, examining the ridges with a portable scanner. Possibly, Elena replied. Or something even more interesting. Let's take samples and bring them back for analysis. The discoveries added a sense of purpose to their daily lives, reminding them of the scientific potential of their mission. By the end of their first month on Mars, the colonists had settled into a fragile but functioning routine. The base was expanding, the greenhouse was thriving, and the crew was beginning to adapt to the challenges of their new environment. One evening, as the sun set over the Martian horizon, the colonists gathered outside to watch the sky darken. The stars, unobstructed by an atmosphere, shone with an intensity none of them had ever seen on Earth. Kane raised a glass of recycled water in a toast. To Olympus Base, he said. To survival. To the future. To the future, the colonists echoed, their voices united. The morning began like any other. A pale, salmon-hued sunrise illuminated the horizon, casting long shadows over the rugged Martian terrain. Inside Olympus Base, the colonists were busy with their usual routines, checking life support systems, tending to the greenhouse, and running diagnostics on their equipment. It was another day of survival on the Red Planet, but by the end of the day, their understanding of Mars and their purpose there would change forever. The discovery began with a routine expedition. Elena Vasquez, Ravi Patel, and Mia Chen were assigned to map an area southwest of Olympus Base. The region featured a series of ridges and valleys that intrigued the geologists back on Earth. Using the pressurized rover, Orion, the team set out with enough supplies for a 3-day mission. I've never seen anything like this, Elena said as the rover rolled to a stop atop a rocky outcrop. Below them stretched a vast expanse of parallel ridges, perfectly spaced and oddly symmetrical. It's almost too perfect, Ravi said, adjusting his visor to block the glare. Nature doesn't usually work in straight lines like that. Mia activated her drone, Hawk, which buzzed into the air and began scanning the formation. The live feed displayed on her wrist-mounted tablet showed the ridges in stunning detail. I'm picking up unusual magnetic readings, Mia said, her brow furrowing. These ridges aren't just rock. There's something metallic beneath the surface. The team decided to investigate further. Using the rover's robotic arm, they began excavating a section of the ridge. It wasn't long before they uncovered something extraordinary, an angular, metallic structure buried beneath the Martian soil. "What the hell is that?" Ravi whispered, stepping closer. The object was smooth, black, and reflective, with intricate patterns etched into its surface. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, and it certainly wasn't natural. This isn't a rock formation," Elena said, her voice tinged with awe. "This is a structure, and it's not ours." Back at Olympus Base, Commander Marcus Kane listened intently as the team relayed their discovery. "You're saying it's an artificial structure?" Kane asked, his voice calm but laced with urgency. "Yes, Commander," Elena replied. "We've only uncovered a small section, but it's clear this wasn't made by geological processes." Kane turned to Athena, the colony's AI. "Athena, analyze the data they've sent back. What do you make of it?" "Preliminary analysis suggests the object is composed of an unknown alloy," Athena said. "Its design does not match any known human engineering. Further investigation is recommended." Kane's expression hardened. "Bring the sample back to base immediately. And keep this under wraps until we know what we're dealing with." Unlocking the secrets. Once the team returned, the sample was placed in the colony's small research lab. The object was subjected to every test the scientists could think of: spectroscopy, X-ray analysis, and electromagnetic scans. The results were baffling. "This alloy doesn't exist on Earth," Sarah Bennett said during a late-night briefing. "It's lightweight, incredibly strong, and resistant to heat and radiation. Whatever it is, it wasn't made by us." "And look at these patterns," Elena added, pointing to the intricate etchings on the surface. "They're not random. This could be a language, or some kind of code." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If the object wasn't natural, and wasn't of human origin, there was only one other possibility. It was evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. As word of the discovery spread through the colony, speculation ran rampant. "Do you think this means there was life on Mars?" Malik asked during a communal dinner. "Maybe," Robbie replied. "Or maybe this is just a remnant of something that passed through, like an alien probe or a crashed ship. But why bury it?" Mia countered. "If this was a probe, wouldn't it have been left on the surface?" Elena nodded. "Good point. The fact that it's buried suggests it's ancient. Whatever civilization made this might have been here millions of years ago." The colonists debated late into night, their imaginations ignited by the possibilities. As the colonists focused on the artifact, strange things began happening around the base. Electronics malfunctioned without explanation. Equipment that had been functioning perfectly the day before suddenly failed, and Athena started behaving oddly. "Power fluctuations are increasing," Athena reported one evening. "'Cause unknown." Kane frowned. "Could this be related to the artifact?" "It is possible," Athena replied. "The artifact emits low-frequency electromagnetic waves that could be interfering with the base's systems." Ravi looked concerned. "If it's disrupting our systems now, what happens if we dig up more of it?" Kane hesitated. "We need answers, but we can't risk compromising the base. Let's isolate the artifact in a shielded container and monitor its effects." One night, while working late in the lab, Mia noticed something unusual. The artifact's surface seemed to glow faintly under certain lighting conditions. Intrigued, she adjusted the spectrum of the lab lights and was shocked to see symbols appear on the artifact's surface. "Commander," "You need to see this," she called over the intercom. Kane and Elena arrived moments later, their eyes widening as they saw the glowing symbols. "It's responding to us," Elena said. "But why?" Mia pointed to the patterns. "These symbols, they're not random. They look like coordinates." "Coordinates to what?" Kane asked. "Maybe another site," Maya said, "or something buried deeper here. We need to investigate." After much debate, the colonists decided to follow the coordinates. The data pointed to a location 50 kilometers from Olympus Base, in a region marked by deep canyons and ancient riverbeds. "This is risky," Kane said during the briefing. "If something goes wrong out there, it could take days to mount a rescue. But if we're right, this could be the most important discovery in human history," Elena argued. In the end, the potential rewards outweighed the risks. A team was assembled, and preparations began for what could be their most dangerous expedition yet. As the colonists prepared, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something monumental. "This changes everything," Elena said to Kane as they stood outside the base, looking up at the stars. "If we find proof of another civilization, it means we're not alone. It means we have a shared history with the universe." Kane nodded. "Or it means we've just stepped into something we don't understand. Either way, we need to be ready." The chapter ends with the colony standing at a crossroads, poised to uncover secrets that could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. Chapter 7: The Expedition to the Unknown. The Martian dawn broke over Olympus Base as the expedition team made their final preparations. The coordinates discovered on the artifact pointed to a site 50 kilometers away, deep within the valley's Marineris Canyon system. It was a place no human or rover had ever explored. The mission was fraught with risks. The terrain was treacherous, communication with the base would be delayed, and they were venturing into an environment even less forgiving than the one they'd come to know. Yet the possibility of uncovering answers drove the team forward. Commander Marcus Kane handpicked the crew for the expedition. Elena Vasquez, with her expertise in geology, would lead the scientific investigation. Mia Chen, an engineer with a knack for improvisation, would handle technical challenges. Ravi Patel, the colony's logistics specialist, would manage supplies and navigation. Kane himself joined the team to provide leadership and oversight. "You're putting yourself on the line for this one," Elena said to Kane as they reviewed the mission plan. "This is too important to leave to chance," Kane replied. "Besides, if something goes wrong, I'd rather be out there helping than waiting helplessly back here." The team loaded the Orion rover with everything they might need: tools, sample containers, extra oxygen tanks, and emergency supplies. The mission would take 3 days, 1 to reach the site, 1 to investigate, and 1 to return. The Orion hummed to life, its pressurized cabin ceiling with a hiss. The team buckled in, their breath fogging the clear visors of their helmets. "Orion's systems are green," Maya reported from the control panel. "We're ready to roll." "Let's make history," Kane said, gripping the rover's controls. The Orion trundled out of Olympus Base and into the vast Martian wilderness. The landscape was both haunting and mesmerizing. Endless stretches of red rock, towering cliffs, and ancient river channels etched into the planet's surface. As the hours passed, the team fell into a rhythm. Mia monitored the rover's systems, Ravi checked navigation against the satellite feed, and Elena recorded observations of the terrain. "Hard to believe this place was once covered in water," Elena mused, staring out at the desolate expanse. "It's even harder to believe something or someone might have lived here," Ravi said. The rover's AI Athena mobile chimed in. "Based on the coordinates, The target location is in a region with high sedimentary deposits. It's a prime candidate for evidence of past hydrological activity. Thanks, Athena, Kane said. Keep monitoring for any environmental hazards. The silence of Mars was profound, broken only by the occasional rumble of the rover's wheels over rocky terrain. It was a silence that reminded the team of their isolation, yet also underscored the magnitude of their mission. The journey was not without its challenges. Midway through the first day, the rover encountered a steep incline littered with loose rocks. "This is going to be tricky," Mia said, scanning the terrain. "If we lose traction here, we're not getting out." "We don't have time to reroute," Kane said, studying the map. "Mia, can we stabilize the rover for the climb?" "I'll give it a shot," she replied. Mia deployed the rover's stabilizing anchors and adjusted the wheel configuration for maximum grip. The team held their breath as the Orion crawled up the incline, its engines straining against gravity and friction. Finally, the rover crested the ridge, and the team let out a collective sigh of relief. "That was close," Robbie said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Let's hope that's the worst of it," Kane replied, though his expression remained tense. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the landscape, the team reached the edge of Valles Marineris. The canyon stretched out before them, a labyrinth of cliffs and valleys that seemed to go on forever. "We're close," Robbie said, checking the coordinates. "The site is about 5 kilometers down this canyon." The descent into the canyon was slow and careful. The rover's headlights cut through the growing darkness, illuminating jagged rocks and narrow paths. Finally, as night fell, they reached a flat plateau. The coordinates pointed to a spot just ahead, marked by an unusual outcropping of rocks. "This is it," Elena said, her voice tinged with awe. The team began their investigation. The rocky outcrop appeared natural at first glance, but closer examination revealed faint patterns etched into its surface. "These markings are similar to the ones on the artifact," Elena said, running her gloved fingers over the grooves. "This isn't just rock, it's a doorway." "A doorway to what?" Robbie asked, skeptical. "We're about to find out," Mia said, pulling out a portable cutting tool. The team worked methodically, using the tool to carve away layers of rock and dust. After hours of labor, a section of the outcrop gave way, revealing a smooth, metallic panel beneath. "There's a seam here," Mia said, pointing to a faint line running down the center of the panel. "It's some kind of hatch." Elena examined the panel with a scanner. "It's emitting the same electromagnetic signal as the artifact. This hatch might be connected to a larger structure underground." "Let's open it," Kane said. Using the rover's robotic arm, the team pried the hatch open. With a hiss of escaping air, the panel slid aside, revealing a dark shaft that descended into the ground. The team donned their helmets and activated their suit lights. One by one, they climbed down the shaft, using a retractable ladder. The chamber they entered was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls were made of the same black, reflective material as the artifact, and faint, glowing lines ran along the floor, forming intricate patterns that pulsed rhythmically. "This isn't natural," Elena said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "This is a constructed space." The room was vast, its ceiling disappearing into darkness. At the center stood a towering monolith, similar in appearance to the artifact but far larger. "What is this place?" Mia whispered, her voice tinged with awe and fear. "It's a message," Elena said, stepping closer to the monolith. "Or a beacon." As Elena approached the monolith, it began to hum softly, its surface lighting up with symbols and patterns. "Careful," Kane warned, drawing his team back. Athena's voice crackled through their suit comms. The monolith is emitting a low-frequency signal. It appears to be scanning you. Scanning us? Ravi asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Yes, Athena replied. The patterns on its surface are changing in response to your movements. It may be attempting to communicate. Elena extended a hand toward the monolith, her fingers brushing against its smooth surface. In an instant, a surge of energy coursed through the chamber, and the glowing lines on the floor converged beneath the monolith. A holographic projection erupted from the monolith, filling the chamber with images of stars, planets, and strange alien symbols. It's a map, Mia said, her eyes wide. A map of the galaxy. And that, Elena added, pointing to a glowing dot that pulsed in the center of the map, isn't Mars. It's pointing to somewhere else. Chapter 8. The Signal Decoded. The chamber was silent, except for the faint hum of the monolith, its glowing holographic map casting eerie, shifting light across the walls. The colonists stood transfixed, their minds racing to comprehend the discovery before them. The monolith had revealed something extraordinary, an intricate map of the galaxy, with a pulsing marker pointing to a location far beyond Mars. This changes everything, Elena whispered, still staring at the projection. This isn't just evidence of alien intelligence. It's a communication, a directive, even. Or a warning, Kane countered, his voice tense. Unload. For more advanced capabilities, video editing, or longer multi-speaker voiceover production, please check out the advanced mode instead. Your creative journey now awaits. Get started now. The team knew they couldn't stay in the chamber much longer. The oxygen reserves in their suits were dwindling, and the mysterious energy emanating from the monolith had started to interfere with their equipment. We've recorded everything we can, Ravi said, double-checking his scanner. But we need Athena to analyze this properly. Kane nodded. Let's pack up and get back to the base. We're not equipped to handle this here. Reluctantly, the team climbed back up the shaft and sealed the hatch behind them. As they boarded the Orion rover, they carried with them not just the data, but the weight of knowing they had stumbled upon something that could redefine humanity's understanding of the cosmos. The return journey to Olympus Base was uneventful, but the mood was far from relaxed. The weight of their discovery pressed heavily on each of them. Kane sat silently at the front of the rover, his hands gripping the controls tightly, while the others reviewed their recordings in hushed tones. Once they arrived, they immediately uploaded the data to the colony's central system for analysis. Athena's calm, synthesized voice filled the room as the AI processed the information. Data transfer complete, Athena announced. Analyzing holographic patterns and energy signatures. Do you think it's really a map? Ravi asked, pacing nervously. It has to be, Elena replied. Those symbols correspond to star systems. I've seen similar patterns in star charts back on Earth, but it's so much more detailed. As the team waited for Athena's analysis, tensions began to surface. What if this isn't a friendly message? Malik, a technician who had joined the debriefing, asked. What if we're poking a hornet's nest? And what's the alternative? Mia shot back. Ignore it? Pretend we didn't find proof of intelligent life? Enough, Kane said, his tone firm. We'll make decisions based on facts, not speculation. Let's wait for Athena's results. Hours later, Athena's analysis was complete. The team gathered in the command center as the AI presented its findings. The holographic projection is indeed a map of the galaxy, Athena began. The central marker corresponds to a location approximately 40,000 light-years from Mars, near the galactic core. 40,000 light-years? Ravi repeated, incredulous. There's no way we can reach that. Not with current technology. That may not be necessary, Athena replied. The monolith contains encoded data that appears to be instructions. Instructions for what? Cain asked, leaning forward. Unknown at this time, Athena admitted. The symbols are highly complex and require further decoding. However, initial analysis suggests they describe a method of generating a stable wormhole. The room fell silent as the enormity of the revelation sank in. A wormhole, Mia whispered. A shortcut through space. The discovery divided the colonists. Some were exhilarated by the possibility of unlocking advanced technology, while others were deeply uneasy. This could be humanity's greatest opportunity, Elena argued during a heated discussion in mess hall. A way to explore the stars without being limited by our current technology. Or it could be a trap, Malik countered. We have no idea who or what sent that message. What if it leads us straight into danger? Cain listened to the arguments, but kept his thoughts to himself. His responsibility was to the safety of the colony, but he couldn't ignore the potential of the discovery. Enough speculation, Cain finally said. Our priority is to decode the rest of the data and determine if this is something we can even use. Until then, no one is to take unnecessary risks. Over the following weeks, Athena worked tirelessly to decode the monolith's instructions. The team provided support, cross-referencing the alien symbols with Earth-based languages and mathematical patterns. This is like solving a puzzle without knowing what the pieces look like, Maya said one night as she worked with Athena in the lab. Progress is being made, Athena assured her. The symbols exhibit a logical structure. They appear to represent a universal language based on physics and mathematics. Finally, Athena announced a breakthrough. I have deciphered a portion of the instructions, the AI said during a colony-wide meeting. The monolith contains a method for creating a device capable of manipulating space-time. This device could theoretically open a stable wormhole. The room erupted into a mix of excitement and fear. This could change everything, Elena said, her eyes wide with wonder. Or destroy everything, Malik muttered under his breath. One challenge remained. The instructions required an energy source far beyond what the colony could generate. The device described in the monolith's instructions requires an immense amount of power, Athena explained. More than what is currently feasible with Earth's or Mars's technology. Then, how do we proceed? Cain asked. Athena hesitated for a moment, a rare occurrence for the AI. The energy signatures recorded at the monolith site suggest there may be additional artifacts or structures nearby. These could provide the power needed. You're saying me to go back out there, Mia said. Yes, Athena replied. But this time, we must expand our search beyond the original chamber. The colony mobilized for a second expedition. This time, they planned a more extensive search of the area surrounding the monolith. Teams were assembled, equipment was upgraded, and every precaution was taken to ensure their safety. This mission will be dangerous, Cain said during the final briefing. But if what Athena has uncovered is correct, it could be the most important thing humanity has ever done. Let's make sure we're ready for whatever we find. As the team prepared to depart, the mood was a mix of anticipation and trepidation. They were about to delve even deeper into the mysteries of Mars and potentially the universe itself. As the chapter closes, Athena detects an increase in the monolith's energy output. The signal is intensifying, the AI reported. It may be responding to our activity. What does that mean? Kane asked. Uncertain, Athena replied. But the monolith may be preparing to reveal more. With the next expedition looming, the colonists brace themselves for what promises to be their most daring journey yet. Chapter 9. The Second Expedition. The Martian sunrise painted the horizon in hues of amber and crimson as the expedition team finalized their preparations for the second journey to the monolith site. The energy signature detected by Athena was growing stronger, its implications both thrilling and ominous. Whatever lay ahead promised to push the limits of their understanding and their endurance. Commander Marcus Kane had selected a larger, more specialized team for this mission. Alongside himself, Elena Vasquez, Maya Chen, and Ravi Patel. The group now included Dr. Samira Haddad, an astrophysicist, and Victor Brandt, a survivalist skilled in traversing hostile terrains. This isn't just exploration anymore, Kane said during the pre-mission briefing. We're venturing into the unknown, and that comes with risks. But if we succeed, this could be humanity's first step into a greater universe. The team loaded 2 rovers, Orion and the newer Phoenix, with upgraded equipment. Enhanced scanning tools, portable power generators, and additional life support systems were included to prepare for extended stays. The 2 rovers rolled out of Olympus base under the watchful eyes of the remaining colonists. Communication with the base would be intermittent once they descended into the Valles Marineris Canyon, a sobering reminder of their isolation. Keep the comm channels clear for critical updates, Kane instructed. The journey began smoothly, the vast expanse of Mars stretching endlessly before them. Yet, despite the beauty of the landscape, an undercurrent of tension permeated the team. The monolith's mysterious signals seemed almost alive, a constant reminder that they were venturing into something far beyond their understanding. Feels different this time, Ravi said quietly as he piloted the Phoenix. Because now we know there's something waiting for us, Mia replied. The team reached the site of the monolith without incident, its towering black surface glinting faintly under the Martian sun. But this time, they didn't stop at the chamber. We've mapped out several points of interest in the surrounding area, Elena said, consulting her tablet. There are unusual geological features that could be connected to the monolith. Splitting into smaller groups, the team began exploring. Elena and Samira examined strange formations in the canyon walls, while Mia and Victor deployed drones to survey the area from above. It didn't take long for the first breakthrough. Commander, you need to see this, Mia said over the comms. Kane and Ravi joined her at a ridge overlooking a shallow valley. Below, partially buried in red dust, was another structure, a smaller monolith, tilted on its side. Looks like a companion to the first one, Victor said, scanning the structure. This one's dormant, Athena reported through the rover's comm system. No detectable energy signature. But why place it here? Kane wondered aloud. And why isn't it active? As the team investigated the smaller monolith, Athena issued a warning. Commander, I am detecting fluctuations in the primary monolith's energy signature, the AI said. The activity is increasing exponentially. Kane frowned. Is it reacting to us? Possibly, Athena replied. However, the fluctuations may indicate instability. Recommend heightened caution. Moments later, an earthquake-like tremor rippled through the ground, causing the team to stagger. Dust and debris fell from the canyon walls, and a low, resonant hum filled the air. Everyone back to the rovers, Kane ordered. The team scrambled to regroup as the hum grew louder, resonating through their suits. The dormant monolith began to vibrate, and cracks appeared in the rocky ground around it. "This can't be good," Robbie muttered as they reached the safety of the rovers. Back at the primary monolith, the team observed a stunning transformation. The black surface, once inert, now pulsated with brilliant blue and gold light. The glowing map reappeared, but this time it was more detailed, with new symbols and pathways connecting the stars. "It's updating," Elena said, her voice filled with awe. Athena confirmed her observation. "The monolith appears to be responding to an externalist. The new patterns suggest additional destinations, or phases, of the message." "Phases?" Kane repeated. "This isn't just a message, it's a sequence." As they watched, the smaller monolith in the valley began to emit a faint glow. Though still less active than its counterpart, it was clear that it, too, was coming to life. "What are they trying to tell us?" Samira wondered aloud. While the monoliths pulsed with energy, Elena and Samira deciphered more of the symbols with Athena's help. "These aren't just star charts," Samira said. "They're schematics. Instructions for building something." "Like the wormhole generator?" Robbie asked. "No," Elena said, pointing to the hologram. "This is something different. A device that could amplify energy across vast distances. Maybe even a communication relay." Athena interjected. "If completed, the device described here could allow for real-time communication with other points in the galaxy." Kane's mind raced. "So, they're not just inviting us to travel. They're inviting us to talk." As the team worked, Maya noticed something odd about the holographic map. "Wait," she said, zooming in on a specific cluster of stars. "This isn't just pointing us outward. It's pointing us inward." "What do you mean?" Kane asked. "One of the markers isn't in deep space," Mia explained. "It's in the solar system, near Mars." The room fell silent. "Athena, confirm that," Kane ordered. "Confirmed," the AI replied. "A secondary marker is located near Mars. Coordinates suggest a point near Olympus Mons." The revelation sent a ripple of shock through the team. "There's something else here," Kane said, his voice grim. "And it's been right under our noses." The chapter closes with the team preparing to follow this new lead, even as the monolith's energy output reaches critical levels. Kane addresses the group. "We came to Mars to build a colony, but it's clear now that we were meant to find this. Whatever's near Olympus Mons might hold the key to understanding the monolith and the beings who created it. We need to investigate." With the colony's resources stretched thin and the risks mounting, the team faces their greatest challenge yet. The mystery of the monolith is deepening, and the answers may lie closer than they ever imagined. Chapter 10: Secrets Beneath Olympus Mons. The air inside Olympus Base buzzed with anticipation. The revelation that one of the monolith's markers was located on Mars itself, near the base of Olympus Mons, sparked a flurry of activity among the colonists. The sprawling volcano, the tallest in the solar system, had always been a point of fascination, but now it had taken on a new significance. Somewhere beneath its ancient slopes lay answers to the mysteries that had gripped the colony. Kane stood before the gathered team in the command center, the holographic map from the monolith rotating slowly behind him. "This is uncharted territory," he began. "The monolith has given us coordinates, but we don't know what we'll find beneath Olympus Mons. This mission will push us further than any we've undertaken so far." The room was quiet as Kane's gaze swept over the team. He could see the mix of excitement and trepidation in their faces. "We've divided into 2 teams," he continued. Team O will consist of Elena, Ravi, and Samira. Your job is to establish a forward base at the coordinates. Team B, with Mia, Victor, and myself, will scout the surrounding area for any anomalies. Athena will coordinate between us. The colonists had only a few days to prepare. Rovers were modified for rougher terrain. Additional oxygen and food supplies were packed, and drones equipped with advanced scanning technology were programmed to navigate the volcanic tunnels. The expedition set out at dawn. The two rovers, Phoenix and Orion, made their way across the barren Martian plains, their wheels kicking up plumes of red dust. Olympus Mons loomed in the distance, a colossal shadow that seemed to touch the heavens. As they approached, the mountain's scale became overwhelming. Its slopes rose gently for miles before steepening into sheer cliffs, the remnants of ancient lava flows. We're not even at the base yet, and I'm already in awe, Robbie murmured. It's like standing at the edge of another world, Elena agreed, her voice tinged with wonder. The coordinates from the monolith led the team to a plateau near the volcano's base. The location was marked by jagged rock formations and strange patterns etched into the ground, as though by forces long forgotten. "This is," Kane said, bringing the rover to a halt. "Set up the base here." Tima worked quickly to deploy temporary shelters, solar panels, and communication relays. Meanwhile, Team B launched drones to map the area, focusing on caves and fissures that could lead to subsurface chambers. "I'm picking up faint energy readings," Mia reported, monitoring one of the drones. "They're consistent with the monolith's signature, but weaker." Victor frowned. "If there's another monolith here, it's buried deep." The drones returned hours later with intriguing data. One of the fissures led to a vast underground cavern, its walls lined with metallic deposits that didn't match any known Martian geology. "This must be it," Samira said, studying the scans. "Whatever's down there, it's not natural." The team prepared for the descent, equipping themselves with climbing gear, portable lights, and protective suits. "Stick together and stay in constant communication," Kane instructed. "We don't know what we're walking into." The descent into the fissure was harrowing. The walls were steep, and the ground was slick with fine Martian dust. As they descended, the air grew colder, and the faint hum of energy began to vibrate through their suits. Finally, the team reached the cavern floor. Their lights illuminated a breathtaking sight, a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed faintly with light. In the center of the chamber stood a smaller, cube-like structure, similar in design to the monolith, but more compact. "It's beautiful," Elena whispered. "And alive," Ravi added, pointing to the faint glow emanating from the crystals. As the team approached the cube, Athena's voice crackled over comms. "The energy readings are increasing," the AI reported. "The structure appears to be activating." Cautiously, Kane placed a scanner against the cube's surface. It was warm to the touch, and symbols began to appear across its smooth exterior. "These symbols are different from the ones on the monolith. They're more intricate." Athena analyzed the data in real time. "This structure appears to be a repository of information," the AI said. "It may contain records or instructions related to the monolith's purpose." Samira's eyes lit up. "A library," she said. "It's a library." As the cube activated, a holographic projection filled the chamber. The image was unlike anything they had seen before. It depicted not star maps, but a story of a civilization that had flourished millions of years ago. The images showed a race of beings, tall and ethereal, harnessing the power of the monoliths to connect worlds. They had built vast networks of wormholes, linking galaxies in an era of unprecedented exploration and cooperation. But the images turned darker. The civilization's over-reliance on their technology led to catastrophic consequences. Wormholes collapsed, entire worlds were lost, and the once great civilization vanished into the void. The final image was a warning, written in the same universal symbols the colonists had been decoding. The key to the stars lies in unity. The path to destruction lies in isolation. The team stood in stunned silence as the projection faded. "They were warning us," Elena said, her voice trembling. "They left this behind to guide whoever came after them." "But why here?" Victor asked. "Why Mars?" Athena's voice interrupted. "The positioning of the monoliths and this repository suggests that Mars was chosen as a waypoint, a place where civilizations could prove their readiness to inherit the knowledge. The team carefully documented everything before beginning their ascent back to the surface. The climb was grueling, but they were driven by the weight of what they had discovered. As they emerged into the Martian sunlight, Kane looked back toward the fissure. "This isn't just about Mars anymore," he said. "This is about humanity's place in the universe." Back at Olympus Base, the team shared their findings with the rest of the colony. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not only on the brink of understanding the monoliths, but also faced the challenge of proving itself worthy of the knowledge they contained. The chapter closes with Kane addressing the colony. "We came to Mars to survive," he said. "But now we have a chance to do more than survive. We have a chance to thrive, to learn, to reach the stars. The road ahead won't be easy, but together we'll take the first steps into a new era for humanity." Unlocking the monolith's secrets. The dim hum of activity inside Olympus Base was replaced by an electric energy as the colonists came together to process the staggering discovery beneath Olympus Mons. The holographic map, the ancient civilization's warning, and the activation of the cube-like structure painted a vivid picture of a galactic legacy waiting to be understood. However, the path forward was fraught with challenges. The monolith's message was clear. Humanity's survival and ascension depended on unity, but deciphering its full secrets would test that resolve. Commander Kane convened an emergency meeting in the base's central command chamber. Nearly every colonist attended, their faces a mix of awe and apprehension. "We've uncovered something extraordinary," Kane began. "This isn't just about Mars anymore. It's about our place in the universe. The monoliths, the repository beneath Olympus Mons, they're part of a much larger puzzle." He paused, letting the gravity of his words sink in. "But to unlock their secrets, we need to work together. Every skill, every talent, and every ounce of ingenuity we brought to Mars will be needed now more than ever." The colonists responded with a rousing cheer, their doubts momentarily replaced by a sense of shared purpose. The colony had found a new mission, one that extended far beyond mere survival. In the days that followed, Athena became the focal point of the colony's efforts. The AI had already deciphered parts of the monolith's patterns and the cube symbols, but the deeper layers of data were encrypted in ways that even Athena struggled to unravel. "These codes are unlike anything I've encountered," Athena said during a briefing. "They appear to be dynamic, changing based on environmental inputs, and perhaps even the emotional states of those interacting with them." Elena Vasquez, the colony's lead linguist, leaned forward. "You're suggesting the monoliths adapt to whoever is trying to understand them?" "Precisely," Athena confirmed. "This may be a test of cognitive and emotional capability, a way to assess whether a civilization is ready to engage with the technology." The first breakthrough. 1 week into their efforts, the team made a breakthrough. Elena and Samira Haddad worked tirelessly to cross-reference the monolith's symbols with known patterns in physics and mathematics. "It's a language," Samira announced during a late-night session. "But it's layered. The outermost layer is meant to guide us to the inner layers, like peeling back the skin of an onion." With this revelation, the team focused on deciphering the first layer, which seemed to outline the monolith's basic function, a repository and transmitter of knowledge across vast distances. This aligns with what we saw in the holographic map. The monoliths aren't just markers, they're beacons. They're designed to connect worlds. As the colony focused on decoding the monolith, strange phenomena began occurring around Olympus Base. One night, Victor Brandt noticed faint lights flickering on the horizon, like fireflies in the thin Martian atmosphere. When he investigated, he found no source for the lights, but his suit's sensors detected faint energy signatures. The next morning, Mia Chen reported unusual vibrations in the colony's power systems. These fluctuations match the monolith's energy patterns, Athena explained. "It's possible our work is triggering some kind of response." Kane frowned. "Are we waking it up?" "Perhaps," Athena replied. "But we need more data to be certain." Driven by these anomalies, the team decided to return to the monolith site for further study. This time, they focused on the areas surrounding the primary structure, hoping to uncover additional clues. Their efforts paid off. A ground-penetrating radar scan revealed a hidden chamber beneath the monolith, accessible through a narrow passage. "It's like the repository beneath Olympus Mons," Robbie said as they prepared to descend. "But smaller." The chamber was a marvel of alien engineering. Its walls glowed faintly with an otherworldly light, and in the center stood a pedestal with a spherical object resting on top. "What is that?" Mia asked, her voice hushed. Athena scanned the sphere. "It appears to be a data core. It may contain instructions or additional information about the monolith's purpose." Back at Olympus Base, the sphere was placed in a secure lab for analysis. Elena, Samira, and Athena worked together to decode its contents. As the sphere activated, it projected a new hologram, a complex web of interconnected symbols and patterns. "This isn't just a map," Samira said, her eyes wide. "It's a blueprint." "A blueprint for what?" Kane asked. Athena analyzed the projection. "It appears to be a device capable of amplifying the monolith's energy output. If constructed, it could allow us to access the monolith's full capabilities." "But there's a catch," Elena said, pointing to a section of the blueprint. "This requires resources we don't have. We'd need to mine deeper into Mars for rare metals and minerals." The discovery sparked a heated debate among the colonists. Some argued that focusing on the monolith was a distraction from the colony's survival, while others believed it was their best chance for long-term success. "Every hour we spend on this is an hour we're not improving the base," one engineer said during a meeting. "But if we unlock the monolith's secrets, it could give us the technology to solve all our problems," Elena countered. Kane stepped in to mediate. "We're not abandoning our survival efforts," he said firmly. "But this is too important to ignore. We'll dedicate a team to mining and resource collection, while the rest of us continue working on the monolith." With the colony united once again, the work began in earnest. Teams ventured into Martian caves to extract the needed materials, while the scientists and engineers focused on building the device. The process was grueling, but the colonists were driven by the knowledge that they were on the brink of something monumental. Weeks later, the device was complete, a sleek, intricate machine that hummed with latent energy. "It's ready," Athena announced. "Once activated, it will interface with the monolith and amplify its signal." The entire colony gathered at the monolith site for the activation. As the device powered up, the monolith began to glow brighter than ever before. Symbols danced across its surface, and the holographic map reappeared, now more detailed and vibrant. Athena's voice broke through the comms. "The monolith is transmitting a message. It's an invitation." "An invitation to what?" Cain asked. "To take the next step," Athena replied. "The coordinates it's transmitting lead to a wormhole near Jupiter. If we follow them, we'll discover what lies beyond." The chapter ends with Cain addressing the colony. "We've come so far, and we've uncovered truths that will shape the future of humanity. But now we face a choice. Do we stay here and focus on building a life on Mars? Or do we take the leap and follow the monolith's invitation?" The colonists are left to ponder their next move, knowing that whatever they choose will define the fate of their species. Chapter 12. The Leap of Faith. The debate that followed the monolith's activation was unlike anything the colony had experienced. Inside Olympus Base's central hub, every voice clamored to be heard. The monolith's message, a set of coordinates pointing to a wormhole near Jupiter, presented an extraordinary opportunity, but it also carried significant risks. Could humanity afford such a gamble? Commander Cain stood at the head of the room, his face betraying the weight of leadership. "Let's not forget what's at stake," he said, but urgent. "Coordinates point to something greater, a chance to connect with the legacy of an ancient civilization and secure humanity's future. But this isn't a decision I can make alone. We need consensus." Elena was among the first to speak. "This is why we came to Mars, not just to survive, but to evolve. If the monolith is guiding us, we'd be fools to ignore it." Mia Chen, the colony's logistics officer, countered, "And what happens if we fail? We're barely surviving as it is. Diverting resources to this mission could doom us all." The room erupted into argument. Some colonists saw the wormhole as humanity's destiny, a calling to explore and expand. Others feared it was a siren song, luring them into the unknown at the cost of their fragile stability on Mars. As the debate raged, Athena interjected with her calm, measured tone. "Based on my analysis, the wormhole presents both opportunity and danger," the AI began. "The monolith's technology suggests that it's stable and deliberate, but we cannot ignore the possibility of encountering hostile environments or unforeseen challenges on the other side." Ravi asked the question on everyone's mind. "What's the probability of success?" "Success depends on your definition," Athena replied. "If success means survival, I estimate a 62% chance of returning unharmed. If success means making meaningful contact or retrieving advanced technology, the probability drops to 38%. Cain called for a vote. Each colonist was given the chance to voice their opinion, knowing their choice could alter the course of history. The results were close, 55 in favor of pursuing the wormhole, 45 against. "To those who voted no," Cain said, "I understand your concerns. No one will be forced to take part in this mission. Those who choose to stay will continue building the colony here, while the rest of us venture into the unknown." With the decision made, the colony shifted into high gear. The spacecraft Ares II, which had been mothballed since their arrival on Mars, was prepared for the journey to Jupiter. Engineers worked tirelessly to retrofit the ship with the latest technology, including modules for long-term survival and a newly developed interface to connect with the monolith's signal. Elena, Ravi, and Victor were among those selected for the mission. They joined Kane in intensive training sessions, preparing for the rigors of deep space travel and potential encounters beyond a wormhole. "I never thought I'd leave Mars again," Ravi admitted during a break. "But this feels right." "It's more than right," Elena said. "It's necessary." The day of departure arrived quickly. The colony gathered to send off the Ares II crew, their faces a mix of pride, fear, and hope. Kane addressed the crowd one last time. "We leave today as explorers, but we carry all of you with us. No matter what we find, this colony will always be the heart of humanity's efforts to reach the stars." As the Ares II lifted off, cheers echoed through Olympus space. The colonists watched until the ship was a distant speck in the Martian sky, carrying with it their dreams of a brighter future. The 6-month journey to the wormhole was both monotonous and awe-inspiring. The crew fell into a routine of maintenance checks, physical exercise, and team-building exercises, but the sight of Jupiter growing larger each day reminded them of the magnitude of their mission. Athena served as both guide and companion, her voice a constant presence aboard the ship. Approaching Jupiter's orbit, she announced one day, her tone betraying a hint of excitement. "The wormhole is within range of our sensors." The crew gathered at the observation deck as the wormhole came into view. It was a swirling vortex of light and energy, pulsating with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. "It's beautiful," Elena whispered. "And terrifying," Victor added. Before entering the wormhole, the crew performed a series of final checks. The ship's shields were reinforced, and Athena ran simulations to predict the effects of crossing the threshold. "This is," Kane said, his voice steady. "Once we go through, there's no turning back until we know what's on the other side." Each crew member took a moment to record a personal message for the colony back on Mars, unsure if they would ever have the chance to send them. As the Ares II approached the wormhole, the ship's systems flickered, and a low hum resonated through the cabin. The vortex seemed to pulse in response to their approach, as if acknowledging their presence. "Hold steady," Kane ordered, gripping the controls. The moment they crossed the threshold, reality seemed to twist and stretch. Colors and shapes danced before their eyes, and a feeling of weightlessness overtook them. Athena's voice broke through the chaos. "Sensors are stabilizing. Transition complete." When the ship emerged on the other side, the view before them was breathtaking. A star system unlike any they had seen stretched out before them, its planets bathed in the light of a vibrant blue star. "We're not in our galaxy anymore," Athena said. "This is somewhere else entirely." The crew scanned the nearest planet, which appeared habitable. Its atmosphere, vegetation, and water resembled Earth's in ways that seemed almost deliberate. "It's like it was waiting for us," Elena said, her voice filled with wonder. The chapter ends with the Ares II descending toward the planet's surface, the crew filled with anticipation and trepidation. They had taken the leap of faith, and now they would face whatever awaited them in this new world. Chapter 13. The World Beyond the Wormhole. The descent through the alien atmosphere was unlike anything the crew of Ares I had experienced. The ship trembled as it pushed through turbulent winds, its sensors working overtime to analyze the dense clouds that shrouded the planet. As they broke through, the view below took their breath away, a world that seemed both familiar and alien. Rolling green landscapes stretched toward the horizon, punctuated by massive crystalline structures that glittered in the light of the blue star above. Rivers, wider than any on Earth, carved their way through the terrain, their waters glowing faintly with an iridescent hue. "This is incredible," Elena whispered, her eyes glued to the observation screen. "Looks too perfect," Victor muttered, his voice tinged with suspicion. Athena's voice broke through the awe. "Atmospheric conditions are stable. Oxygen levels are slightly higher than Earth's, with trace amounts of unfamiliar elements. Surface gravity is 0.91, comparable to Mars." "Any signs of life?" Kane asked, his tone steady but curious. "Abundant," Athena replied. "Flora, fauna, and complex biosignatures. However, I cannot yet confirm the presence of sentient life forms." As the ship approached the surface, Kane chose a landing site near one of the crystalline structures. It stood several kilometers tall, its spire-like design shimmering with a spectrum of colors that seemed to shift as they moved closer. The landing was smooth, the Ares eye touching down on a flat expanse of land covered in soft moss-like vegetation. As the engines powered down, the crew prepared to step into the unknown. "This is it," Kane said, addressing the team. "We've trained for this moment. Let's move cautiously, document everything, and remember we're not just explorers. We're ambassadors of humanity." The airlock cycled open, and the team stepped onto the surface. The ground beneath their boots was soft but firm, the moss-like material springing back with every step. The air was crisp and carried a faint, sweet scent, unlike anything they had encountered before. Their first goal was to study the nearby crystalline spire. As they approached, they noticed intricate patterns etched into its surface, resembling hieroglyphs, but with a fluid, almost holographic quality. "Are these natural formations?" Elena asked, running her gloved hand over the surface. "Unlikely," Athena replied through their comms. "The precision and symmetry suggest artificial construction." Victor scanned the structure with a portable device. "I'm picking up energy readings. This thing is active." "Active how?" Kane asked, stepping closer. Before Victor could respond, the structure emitted a low hum. Symbols along its surface began to glow, and a beam of light shot upward into the sky. The crew stepped back instinctively, weapons raised, though Kane quickly motioned for calm. "It's responding to our presence," Elena said, her voice tinged with awe. The beam of light faded, but the structure remained illuminated. Moments later, a holographic image appeared before them, a figure that resembled a humanoid but was distinctly alien. Its elongated features and flowing attire gave it an ethereal presence. The figure spoke, its voice resonating in a language the crew couldn't understand. "Athena, translation?" Kane asked. "I'm working on it," Athena replied. "The language is complex, but I've identified patterns similar to the monolith symbols, attempting to establish communication." As Athena processed the data, the figure seemed to study them, its movements deliberate yet fluid. It raised a hand and pointed toward the horizon, where another crystalline structure was visible in the distance. "It's guiding us," Elena said. "Or testing us," Victor added, his grip tightening on his scanner. Deciding to follow the figure's directive, the team set out toward the second crystalline structure. The journey took them through lush landscapes teeming with life. Towering trees with bioluminescent leaves cast an otherworldly glow, while small, insect-like creatures flitted through the air, their wings humming softly. The team stopped frequently to collect samples, marveling at the diversity of life around them. "This ecosystem is incredibly advanced," Samira said, examining a cluster of plants that seemed to pulse faintly as if breathing. "It's like the entire planet is alive." It's also untouched, Elena added. No signs of pollution, no evidence of industrialization. If there's intelligent life here, it's coexisting with nature in a way we never could. As they approached the second spire, they noticed subtle differences in its design. The hieroglyphs were more intricate, and the energy readings were stronger. When they reached the base, the holographic figure reappeared. This time, it held out its hands, and a swirling mass of light appeared between them. The light coalesced into an image of the wormhole and the monoliths, followed by a depiction of multiple planets connected by beams of light. "It's showing us a network," Athena said. "The monoliths aren't just repositories. They're part of an interstellar communication and transportation system." The figure pointed to one of the planets in the hologram, which glowed brighter than the rest. "That must be its homeworld," Elena speculated. "And it wants us to go there," Kane concluded. The crew returned to the Ares I to discuss their next steps. "If we follow the signal to the homeworld, we could uncover the full extent of this civilization's knowledge," Elena argued. "But we'd be venturing even farther into the unknown," Victor countered. "We don't know if the ship can handle another jump, or if we'll have the resources to return to Mars." Athena added, "The ship is capable of one more jump, but it will require recalibration and time to recharge the core. We must decide carefully." Kane leaned back, his mind racing. The monoliths had led them this far, revealing a world of wonder and possibilities. But the risks were undeniable. "Let's weigh our options carefully," he said. "This decision will define the future of humanity." As the crew deliberated, Athena received a message from Olympus Base. "Commander, we've just received a transmission from Mars," she said. "The colony has detected unusual energy readings at the original monolith site. They're asking if it's related to our mission." "Are the readings similar to what we've encountered here?" Kane asked. "Yes," Athena confirmed. "It's possible the monoliths are connected across vast distances and responding to our actions here." This revelation added urgency to their decision. The network wasn't just about discovery, it was actively engaging with humanity, perhaps preparing for something far greater. The chapter closes with Kane addressing the crew. "We've come this far because we believed in something bigger than ourselves. The monoliths, this planet, the network, it's all part of a story we're only beginning to understand. If we go to the homeworld, we may find the answers we've been searching for. But it's a leap of faith, one that will take everything we've got." The crew nods, their resolve unshaken. Together, they prepare the Ares I for its next and most daring journey, a voyage to the alien homeworld at the heart of the monolith network. Chapter 14. The Alien Homeworld. The decision was unanimous. Despite the risks and uncertainties, the crew of Ares I resolved to follow the signal to the alien homeworld. The ship hummed with activity as the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for the journey. The planet beneath their feet had been a marvel, but the homeworld promised answers that could redefine humanity's place in the universe. Athena, as always, was at the heart of their efforts. "Course plotted and wormhole calibration underway," she announced. "Estimated jump time, 72 hours. I recommend all crew members conduct final systems checks and personal preparations." Elena, Ravi, and Victor worked together to ensure the ship's systems were at peak performance. Every calculation was double-checked, every component inspected. Meanwhile, Kane recorded a message for Olympus Base, detailing their findings and decision to proceed. "This is a leap of faith," he said into the recorder, his voice steady. "We believe this mission holds the key to humanity's future, but if we fail, know that we acted with purpose and hope. The moment of the jump arrived. The crew strapped into their seats, their faces a mix of anticipation and unease. "Engaging wormhole drive," Athena announced. The Ares. I shuddered as it entered the wormhole, the fabric of reality twisting and bending around them. The sensation was disorienting, yet oddly beautiful, like being submerged in a kaleidoscope of shifting colors and shapes. Suddenly, the ship emerged into a new star system. Crew stared in awe at the view before them, a massive planet orbiting a binary star. Its surface shimmered with lights that suggested advanced civilization, and several moons orbited it in precise formations, each appearing to serve a specific purpose. "This is it," Elena whispered. "The home world." As the Ares, I approached the planet, Athena began scanning its surface. "The planet's atmosphere is breathable and stable," she reported. "I'm detecting numerous energy signatures and structures that suggest advanced technology. Additionally, I've identified a landing site near a large central hub." "Central hub?" Kane asked. "It appears to be a massive city, but unlike any city on Earth. The structures are organic in shape, blending seamlessly with the planet's natural features." The ship descended through the planet's atmosphere, its systems adjusting to the unique conditions. The closer they got, the more details emerged. Towering spires, made of crystalline material, reflected the binary sunlight, while vast networks of pathways and waterways connected the sprawling metropolis. The areas, I landed smoothly on a platform that extended from one of the crystalline structures. As the engines powered down, the crew prepared to step onto the alien surface. "Remember," Kane said, "we're guests here. Let's proceed with respect and caution." The airlock opened, and the team descended onto the platform. The ground beneath their boots was warm and smooth, as if it had been designed for comfort. Around them, the city hummed with energy, the structures glowing faintly as if alive. Suddenly, a group of figures appeared, emerging from the nearest spire. They were humanoid, but distinctly alien, their elongated limbs and shimmering, translucent skin giving them an ethereal quality. The leader stepped forward, its movements graceful and deliberate. It raised a hand in a gesture that seemed welcoming. Athena translated the alien's words in real time. "Welcome, travelers. You have come far, guided by the monoliths. We are the keepers, stewards of this network." The jump itself was no less disorienting than the first. Colors and shapes twisted around them as the ship moved through the rift in space-time. But this time, the journey felt shorter, the crew emerging on the other side to see the familiar red orb of Mars. "We're back," Rabbi said, exhaling a sigh of relief. The Ares eye descended toward Olympus base, which sparkled in the Martian sun. The colony had expanded during their absence, with additional structures and vehicles scattered across the landscape. As they approached the landing pad, Athena informed them of a peculiar development. "Commander, I'm detecting heightened energy readings at the original monolith site," Athena reported. "They are stronger than any previous activity." "Looks like our little adventure didn't go unnoticed," Victor said, his tone laced with unease. Kane nodded. "Let's focus on getting back to Olympus base first. We'll address the monolith after we've regrouped." The Ares I landed smoothly, and the crew was greeted by an eager team of colonists and UNSI officials. Among them was Dr. Meera Patel, the scientist leading the Mars mission during their absence. "Commander Kane," she said, shaking his hand firmly. "Welcome back. We've been tracking your progress and received your transmission about the alien homeworld. It's incredible." "It's more than incredible," Kane replied. "It's transformative. But we need to debrief in private. There's much we can't discuss publicly yet. Crew was ushered into a secure conference room where they shared their findings. The room was silent as they described the Nexus, the Keepers, and the vast interstellar network. Victor presented the schematics and data they had extracted from the Nexus. The room was filled with holographic projections of advanced technologies, including clean energy solutions, medical advancements, and communication systems far beyond anything humanity had developed. "This is just the surface," Victor said, gesturing to the glowing blueprints. "The Nexus contains information that could solve Earth's resource crisis and transform Mars into a self-sustaining colony. But it's not without risks," Elena added. "The Keepers warned us knowledge like this can lead to both creation and destruction. We have to be careful." Dr. Patel leaned forward, her expression a mix of awe and concern. "This is the kind of breakthrough humanity has been waiting for. But how do we ensure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands?" Their debriefing was interrupted by an urgent call from the colony's monitoring station. "Commander Kane, you need to see this," a technician said, his face pale. The crew rushed to the command center, where a live feed showed the original monolith site. The towering structure was glowing brightly, emitting beams of light that shot into the sky. The energy readings were off the charts, and the surrounding terrain was visibly trembling. "What's causing this?" Kane asked. "It started shortly after the Ares ion orbit," the technician replied. "We think it's responding to the knowledge you brought back." Realizing the urgency, Kane and his team prepared to investigate the monolith. They donned their suits and loaded the rover with specialized equipment. As they approached the site, the ground beneath them rumbled with increasing intensity. The monolith, once a silent enigma, now pulsed with an almost sentient energy. "This feels different," Elena said, her voice shaky. "It's like the monolith is alive." Victor scanned the structure. The energy signature matches what we saw on the alien homeworld. It's as if the Nexus is trying to connect with this one. The team set up their equipment, and Athena interfaced with the monolith. "Commander, I'm detecting a data transfer," Athena reported. "The monolith is downloading information from the Nexus database stored in our systems." As the team worked, a sudden burst of light erupted from the monolith. The crew shielded their eyes as the light coalesced into a familiar form, the holographic figure of a keeper. "You have returned," the keeper said, its voice resonating in their comms. Kane stepped forward cautiously. "We have." "The monolith? What's happening to it?" "The network is awakening," the keeper replied. "Your actions have reactivated the dormant connection between this world and the Nexus. But with activation comes risk. Others may seek this knowledge, and not all will use it wisely." The keeper continued, its tone grave. "The knowledge you carry is a seed. It can grow into a tree of life or a weapon of destruction. You must guard it carefully. How do we protect it?" Kane asked. "The monoliths can be shielded, their connections monitored," the keeper replied. "But you must also prepare your kind for what lies ahead. The awakening of this network will attract attention from forces beyond your comprehension." The figure faded, leaving the team in stunned silence. Back at Olympus Base, the crew gathered to discuss their next steps. "We've gone from explorers to guardians," Elena said. The keeper's warning was clear. "We're not just protecting knowledge. We're protecting humanity from what might come next." Kane nodded. "We'll work with you, NSI, to shield the monoliths and carefully distribute the knowledge. But we also need to prepare for the possibility of contact with other civilizations, hostile or otherwise. The chapter ends with the crew gazing at the stars, their mission no longer just about survival or discovery. They were now the stewards of humanity's future, tasked with navigating a path filled with unprecedented challenges and opportunities. Chapter 16. Guardians of the Nexus. The landscape of Mars, both physical and metaphorical, had changed dramatically since the arrival of the Ares II. The crew, once pioneers carving out a survivalist existence, were now guardians of a cosmic secret that could alter humanity's fate. The Nexus knowledge had unlocked unimaginable potential, but it also posed existential risks, both from within their ranks and from beyond the stars. The first task at hand was securing the monolith. The energy surges it emitted after connecting to the Nexus had stabilized, but its glowing presence was a beacon to anyone observing Mars. "This thing is a lighthouse in the middle of a dark sea," Victor said as he examined the structure. "If someone's looking, they'll see it." Dr. Patel, now a key advisor to the Ares II team, proposed a solution. "We need to construct a containment field around the monolith to mask its energy signature. Athena, can you create a design using the Nexus schematics?" "Affirmative," Athena replied. "The Nexus database contains plans for adaptive shielding technology. I will generate a design optimized for Martian conditions." The colony mobilized immediately. Engineers worked day and night to construct the containment field, a shimmering dome of energy that would not only obscure the monolith signals, but also protect it from external interference. Meanwhile, Kane convened a council of the colony's leaders, scientists, and UNSI representatives to discuss how to manage the knowledge from the Nexus. The room was tense, filled with conflicting emotions, excitement, fear, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. "We can't just keep this to ourselves," argued Dr. Patel. "The advancements in medicine, energy, and engineering could save billions of lives on Earth. And who decides how that knowledge is used?" countered Victor. "We've seen what happens when powerful tools fall into the wrong hands. Wars have been fought over less." Elena, ever the mediator, proposed a compromise. "We create a phased dissemination plan. Start with technologies that address critical needs, clean energy, water purification, agricultural advancements, and keep the more dangerous knowledge locked away until we're ready." Council reluctantly agreed, though tensions simmered beneath the surface. While the colony focused on fortifying the monolith and managing the Nexus data, Athena detected something alarming. "Commander Kane," Athena said during a private briefing, "long-range sensors have detected an unidentified vessel entering the solar system." The room fell silent. "Is it headed for Mars?" Kane asked, his voice tight. "Trajectory analysis suggests a high probability," Athena replied. "Estimated arrival in 3 weeks. Do we know who or what it is?" Elena asked. "Negative. The vessel does not match any known Earth-based designs or the Keeper's ships." With the clock ticking, the colony shifted its focus to preparing for a potential encounter with the approaching vessel. "If it's hostile, we need defenses," Victor said bluntly. "And if it's not," Elena countered, "what if they're like the Keepers, here to guide us?" Kane intervened. "We prepare for both scenarios." Athena, begin analyzing defensive strategies while also preparing protocols for peaceful communication. The colony's engineers repurposed mining drones and construction equipment into makeshift defense systems, while scientists worked on creating a universal translator using the Nexus database. As preparations continued, tensions within the colony began to rise. The secrecy surrounding the Nexus and the monolith's connection led to growing unease among the colonists. People are starting to ask questions, Robbie said during a private meeting with Kane. They see the containment field, the increased security around the monolith. They know something's up. We can't tell them everything, Kane replied. Not yet. If word of this gets out, Earth's governments will tear each other apart, trying to control it. But keeping secrets breeds distrust, Elena said. We need to find a way to bring the colony into the fold without causing panic. Kane decided to address the colony directly. Standing in the main assembly hall, he faced the gathered colonists, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. We've discovered something extraordinary, Kane began. The monolith is part of a network, an ancient repository of knowledge that could change the course of humanity. But with great knowledge comes great responsibility. We must protect this gift until we're ready to use it wisely. His words resonated with some, but others remained skeptical. A small faction began to question the crew's authority, whispering about the dangers of withholding such a powerful secret. 3 weeks passed quickly, and the unidentified vessel entered Martian orbit. The colony's long-range cameras captured its sleek, angular design, unlike anything they had seen before. The crew gathered in the control room, watching as the ship descended toward the surface. It's heading for the monolith, Athena reported. Victor, activate the containment field's defenses, Kane ordered. But hold fire unless they make the first move. The vessel landed smoothly near the monolith, its hull shimmering in the Martian sunlight. A ramp extended, and a group of figures emerged. They were humanoid, but clearly not human, their forms clad in intricate, metallic suits. Kane, Elena, and Ravi approached the aliens, their weapons holstered but ready. Athena transmitted a greeting using the universal translator. Welcome to Mars. We are representatives of humanity. We come in peace. The alien leader stepped forward, its movements fluid and deliberate. It raised a hand in a gesture that mirrored the Keeper's earlier welcome. We are the author, it said, its voice resonating through their comms. We have monitored the reactivation of the network. We seek to understand your intentions. The crew explained their mission, their discovery of the Nexus, and their efforts to protect its knowledge. The other listened intently, their expressions unreadable. The network is a tool. Its purpose is to unite civilizations, not to hoard knowledge. But its activation also serves as a signal, drawing attention from others, some of whom may not share your peaceful intentions. The warning sent chills through the crew. Before departing, the Other offered a piece of technology, a small glowing orb they called a sentinel. This will aid you in monitoring the network and defending it, should the need arise, the Other leader explained. As their ship ascended into the sky, Kane turned to his team. We're not just explorers or colonists anymore. We're guardians of something much bigger than ourselves. The chapter ends with the colony settling into its new role, the crew united in their mission to protect the monolith and the knowledge it held, even as the shadow of potential threats loomed on the horizon. Chapter 17, Shadows of the Unknown. The colony's transformation into guardians of the monolith brought an uneasy balance. Though the Other's visit had been peaceful, their cryptic warning about other civilizations with less benign intentions weighed heavily on the crew. As the days passed, the Martian skies and the red horizon seemed to hum with anticipation, a prelude to an unseen storm. Life at Olympus Base had settled into a tense routine. The colonists worked tirelessly, fortifying defenses, refining the containment field around the monolith, and analyzing the Sentinel technology gifted by the Author. The Sentinel orb hovered in the command center, glowing faintly as it pulsed with data. Ravi and Victor worked to integrate it with Athena's systems. "This thing's a marvel," Ravi said, his voice tinged with awe. "It's like a living database, constantly scanning the surrounding area." Victor was less enthused. "It's also a tracker. If it's feeding us information, who's to say it's not feeding someone else?" Elena overheard and interjected. "Paranoia won't help, Victor." The others seemed genuine in their intentions. "Let's focus on using this to prepare for whatever's coming." But Victor's unease lingered. A week later, Athena detected unusual energy signatures in the outer regions of the solar system. "Commander Kane," Athena reported, "long-range sensors have picked up faint signals originating near the asteroid belt. The pattern is irregular, but resembles communication frequencies." "Could it be Earth?" Elena asked, leaning over the console. Athena hesitated before replying. "Unlikely. The signal does not match any known Earth-based transmissions." Kane's face darkened. "Could it be another ship?" "Possibly," Athena said. "The signal's strength is too weak to determine its exact source, but it appears to be moving toward Mars." The colony mobilized, bracing for what could be their first hostile encounter. The Sentinel orb became a focal point of their preparations, its capabilities slowly unraveling under Athena's analysis. "It can project a localized energy shield," Ravi explained during a briefing. "Short-term and limited in range, but it's powerful enough to repel small-scale attacks." "That's reassuring," Kane said, "but we'll need more than just the Sentinel if this turns into a full-scale confrontation." Victor chimed in. "The monolith's energy output is enormous. If we can harness even a fraction of it, we might be able to create a defensive perimeter." Tim worked tirelessly to integrate the monolith's energy into the colony's systems, a delicate and dangerous process. As the colonists prepared, tensions within the base reached a boiling point. The secrecy surrounding the monolith, the Sentinel, and the Other's visit had sown distrust among some factions. During a heated town hall meeting, one of the civilian leaders, Mara Kinsey, voiced her concerns. "We deserve to know the full truth. What are we really guarding here? And who are these others we're supposedly protecting it from?" Kane stepped forward to address the crowd. "I understand your concerns, but this isn't just about Mars or this colony. The monolith is part of something much larger, something that could save humanity or destroy it if we're not careful." His words quelled the unrest for the moment, but the fractures in the colony's unity remained. The tension turned to alarm when, 3 nights later, the containment field around the monolith flickered unexpectedly. "Athena, report," Kane demanded as alarms blared through the base. "The field experienced a momentary disruption," Athena replied. "Source unknown. However, I am detecting faint traces of energy signatures near the perimeter." "Could it be the signal we detected earlier?" Elena asked. "It is possible," Athena said. "The energy signatures bear similarities, but they are too weak to confirm." Kane ordered a full security sweep of the area. Armed reconnaissance teams searched the surrounding terrain, but they found no physical evidence of an intruder. While analyzing the Sentinel's data logs, Victor stumbled upon something chilling. "These energy signatures, they're not random," he told Kane and Elena. "They're probing us, testing the containment field's integrity." "Whoever's doing this is trying to access the monolith," Kane said, his jaw tightening. "We need to reinforce the field immediately." But as the crew worked to strengthen the defenses, the energy disruptions grew more frequent, their source elusive. 2 weeks after the initial disruptions, Athena detected a new object entering Mars' orbit. "Unidentified vessel," detected, Athena announced. Size and design unknown. It is maintaining a geosynchronous orbit above Olympus base. The command center fell silent as the crew watched the live feed. The vessel was sleek and angular, its black hull absorbing light like a void. "It's not Earth, and it's not the other," Ravi said. "So who is it?" Kane decided to attempt contact. "Athena, transmit a standard greeting on all frequencies. Let's see if they respond." The room held its collective breath as Athena sent the message. Moments later, a reply came through, the voice cold and mechanical. "We are the Erythian Collective," it said. "You possess what is not yours. Surrender it or face annihilation." Elena's eyes widened. "They're talking about the monolith." "We're not surrendering anything," Kane said, his voice firm. "Athena, stall them. Tell them we need time to deliberate." The Erythian vessel did not wait long. Hours after their ultimatum, it launched a series of probes toward the colony. "They're testing our defenses," Victor said, as the probes collided with the containment field, causing it to ripple but hold steady. The colony activated its makeshift defense systems, drones patrolling the skies and ground units guarding the perimeter. The Sentinel projected its energy shield, covering critical areas of the base. But the Erythians escalated their assault. A concentrated energy blast from their ship struck the containment field, causing it to waver. Desperate, Kane and Victor made the decision to tap directly into the monolith's energy reserves. "This is risky," Victor warned. "The monolith's power could overload our systems, or worse, destroy the base." "We don't have a choice," Kane replied. "It's either that, or we lose everything." As they rerouted the monolith's energy, the colony's defenses surged with new strength. The Sentinel's shield expanded, and the drone's weaponry became exponentially more powerful. The colony managed to repel the Erythian probes, but the main vessel remained, looming ominously in the sky. As the battle reached a stalemate, the monolith emitted an unexpected pulse of light. Athena analyzed the data and reported, "The monolith has transmitted a signal. Destination unknown." "What does that mean?" Elena asked. "I believe it is calling for reinforcements," Athena replied. "But whether those reinforcements are allies or enemies is unclear." The chapter ends with the colony bracing for the unknown, their survival hanging by a thread as the shadow of the Erythians looms larger. Chapter 18. The reinforcements arrive. The eerie hum of the monolith filled the command center as its pulse echoed through the base, signaling the arrival of something or someone. A thick silence settled over Olympus base, broken only by the sounds of hurried footsteps and the whir of machinery as the crew prepared for whatever lay ahead. Their enemy, the Erythian Collective, remained in orbit, a looming, silent threat. But now, a new factor had entered the equation. In the wake of the last skirmish, the colony's defenses were at full alert. Armed drones patrolled the perimeter. Inside the command center, Athena was running diagnostics on the monolith signal. Kane, Elena, Victor, and Dr. Patel stood gathered around the central display, watching Athena's analysis unfold. "Pulse we detected is unlike anything the Erythians use," Athena explained. "It's a complex series of frequencies designed to tap into long-range communication networks. The destination appears to be an area outside Mars' orbit, but I cannot pinpoint an exact location." Kane frowned. "So, we don't know who or what is responding to the monolith's call." "Not yet," Athena replied. "But based on the energy output of the signal, it's likely that whoever or whatever is coming is powerful." Elena's brow furrowed in concern. "And the Erythians? They are still maintaining their position, Athena reported. They have not moved to engage further, but their intent is unclear. I suspect they are waiting for a response from the unknown signal. Victor stood with his arms crossed, deep in thought. This is a game of waiting, then. The Erythians know something we don't, and now we're waiting for the reinforcements to arrive. Or to leave us vulnerable, Kane added, his tone heavy. We have to be ready for anything. 2 days passed without further incident. During that time, the base continued to reinforce its defenses, but the calm was unsettling. The unknown vessel that had arrived at Mars' orbit had yet to make its move. The crew had spent every moment preparing for the worst, though a growing sense of unease lingered in the air. Then, on the 3rd day, Athena reported a change. "Commander Kane," Athena's voice rang out, drawing everyone's attention. "I am detecting multiple ships approaching from the outer solar system. The energy signatures match the frequency of the monolith's pulse." Kane's heart skipped a beat. "How many?" "6 vessels, all of considerable size," Athena responded. "They are approaching Mars at high speed." The entire room fell into a tense silence, the implications of the report clear to everyone. These ships were not from Earth. They were not the Erythians. They were the ones the monolith had called, and they were coming toward Mars. With the unknown ships now on a direct course for Mars, Kane and his team quickly coordinated their response. The Erythians, sensing the threat of the incoming ships, began to move in closer, their intentions unclear. The atmosphere inside Olympus Base was electric, the air thick with tension as the crew braced for the unknown. Kane addressed the council, which had been hastily gathered. "We don't know who or what is coming, but we have to be prepared. Victor, Elena, you're on the defense systems. Dr. Pell, I need you and your team ready for any scientific analysis once we make contact. Ravi, make sure Athena is ready for communication." Everyone nodded in agreement, their focus unshakable. No one spoke of fear, not aloud, at least, but it was palpable. As the ships neared Mars' orbit, Athena initiated the communication protocol. "Sending a greeting signal," Athena announced. "Opening a direct line for contact." The team watched the monitor as the ships responded, sending a single, steady pulse of light back toward the base. Then, a voice, a clear, authoritative tone echoed through the speakers. "We are the Arcanus Collective," the voice said, its resonance deep and commanding. "We have heard the call." Kane's eyes widened. "The Arcanus Collective? What are they?" "The Arcanis are an ancient civilization," Dr. Patel replied, her voice filled with awe. "They are one of the original builders of the Nexus network. We thought they were a myth lost to time." The voice from the Arcanis ships continued. "We have watched your species from afar, waiting for your signal. The Nexus is a tool, but it is also a test. You are the next to ascend or to fail. We offer you guidance, but you must prove yourselves worthy." As the Arcanis ships began to enter Mars' orbit, their colossal size dwarfing Olympus Base, the tension reached its peak. The Erythians, sensing the arrival of these new players, prepared for possible confrontation, their ship taking an aggressive stance. The battle lines had shifted. Kane addressed his crew once more, his voice steady. "We need to be ready for anything. The Arcanes offer guidance, but their message is cryptic. They have no reason to trust us, not yet. And the Erythians." He hesitated. "We need to keep them at bay while we learn what we can from the Arcanis." Victor clenched his jaw. "So, we're caught in the middle of a cosmic power struggle." "Great. Not if we make the right choice, Elena said, her voice calm but resolute. We'll have to make a decision soon. Who do we trust? Just as Kane was about to respond, Athena's voice cut through the tension. Commander Kane, the Arcanists are transmitting a new message. It's a test, a challenge for the colony. They are offering us a chance to prove our worthiness. If we succeed, they will share their knowledge and guide us to ascension. If we fail, Athena's voice trailed off. Failure? Kane asked, his voice sharp. What happens then? The consequences are unknown, Athena replied, but the energy signatures suggest that the Arcanis are not accustomed to failure. They will not offer a second chance. The Arcanist challenge was simple in theory, but complex in execution. They had identified a series of ancient structures on Mars, buried deep beneath the surface, hidden from human eyes. They believed these structures were built by their own kind long before humanity's first attempts at colonization. The Arcanists demanded that the crew find and unlock these structures, demonstrating their ability to understand and manipulate ancient technology. This is it, Dr. Pell said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and fear. We're not just on Mars anymore. We're stepping into the unknown. If we can unlock the secrets of these structures, we could change everything for humanity. Kane nodded grimly. The Arcanis are offering us a choice. Prove we're worthy or risk everything. We don't have the luxury of failure. The crew assembled quickly, preparing for an expedition that could either lead to unimaginable knowledge or catastrophic destruction. They knew that the outcome of this mission would determine the future of not just the Martian colony, but possibly all of humanity. The expedition would take them deep into the Martian wilderness, far beyond Olympus Mons. The structures the Arcanists had spoken of were located in a remote region known only for its geological instability and the sparse, mysterious artifacts found by earlier robotic probes. The journey to this region was fraught with danger, and Kane knew that every step they took could lead to a breakthrough or to their undoing. We need to be prepared for anything, Victor said as he double-checked the equipment. The terrain is harsh, and we have no idea what we'll find down there. Elena gave him a tight smile. It's what we came here for, right? The chapter ends as the crew sets out for the hidden structures, knowing that the fate of their colony, their world, and the very future of humanity rests on their ability to pass the Arcanis' test. Chapter 19. The Hidden City Beneath Mars. The Martian landscape was a patchwork of red dust and jagged terrain as the crew embarked on their journey. With every step, they ventured further from Olympus base, deeper into the unexplored regions of Mars, following the coordinates transmitted by the Arcanis Collective. They were headed for a place marked only by cryptic coordinates that, according to the Arcanis, held the key to humanity's ascension. But the journey ahead promised to be more than just an expedition for answers. It would test the very fabric of their endurance, their unity, and their ability to face the unknown. The convoy of Land Rovers and drones sped across the Martian surface, their tires crunching against the loose, dust-choked terrain. The crew had divided into teams, each responsible for navigating the harsh landscape and collecting data. At the head of the convoy, Kane and Dr. Patel worked together to interpret the data from Athena, whose sensors kept a close watch on their surroundings. "We're getting close," Kane said, his voice steady but carrying the weight of uncertainty. "The structures should be just beyond that ridge." Dr. Pell nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. "This region isn't well charted. There were only faint readings from the robotic probes before. But the Arcanis," she hesitated, glancing back toward the others.